could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM at HD1 San Francisco. An Odyssey station.
Good morning!
It's time to wake up. It's 5, and we're live.
Oh, is this thing on? I don't care. I want him to hear.
This is the Pregame Show, your early morning shot of sports on 95.7 The Game. Come on!
Oh, yeah, let's go. It's a Friday. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. This is the Pregame Show. I am your host, as always, Joe Spadoni. You made it. It was a shorter week for most of you, but you made it nonetheless, and I'm proud of you. If you're just getting off work, if you're still working, you're on break, getting ready for the weekend, getting ready for school today, whatever you're doing, getting ready for summer vacation, if you're teachers out there, nurses, doctors, baby mamas, baby daddies, I don't know. I don't have the whole list like Bonte has. He has a whole spreadsheet in front of him. Probably need to make him one of those. Might be easier. But shout out to everyone that's listening here on the Pregame Show. We got an hour before tossing over the morning roast, and we got a lot to get into. Game 1 is over. Is this series over after one game? I think it might be. The Denver Nuggets, 104, Miami Heat, 93, Game 1, NBA Finals in Denver. And it just felt inevitable from the tip that the Nuggets were going to win this game. Heat cut it close, fourth quarter, cut it to 10, instant run back. The Nuggets controlled this game from start to finish. And Nikola Jokic, just another triple-double. The most assists ever by a player in an NBA Finals debut. 14 of them. And I believe the only guy to have a triple-double in his Finals debut, other than Jason Kidd, back with the Nets against the Lakers back in 2002. He's on that kind of a run. He's already surpassed Wilt Chamberlain for the most triple-doubles in a single postseason run, and he's just adding to it now. He has been unbelievable. Jamal Murray, 26, 11 of 22. And the crazy thing about the Nuggets last night at 888-957-9570, that's the number to get involved this morning on the Comcast Business text line. But the crazy thing is, it's not like they shot unbelievable from the three-point land. Overall, yes, they shot 50%. They were getting buckets in the paint at will. But 8 of 27 from beyond the arc. The opportunity was there for the Heat. If they just hit some of their three-point shots, they may have been able to steal game 1. But when you got Max Strus going 0 for 10, 0 of 9 from beyond the arc, and no one else even sniffing it other than Gabe Vincent, he showed up. Bam Adebayo, he showed up. Jimmy Butler, 6 of 14, 13 points, that's not going to get it done. Caleb Martin, 1 of 7, not going to get it done. Duncan Robinson, 1 of 5 from beyond the arc, not going to get it done. Highsmith, okay, 18 points off the bench. But you need other contributors. And you saw for the Nuggets last night, it was a total team effort. Aaron Gordon, that's a matchup problem for the Miami Heat. I don't think they can stop him. Midi zone, San Jose, let's go. It's pulling for Aaron Gordon. I'm pulling for him. I always root for the local guys. Michael Porter Jr., shot wasn't there, but you know what? Attacking the glass. 13 boards, 2 offensive, 2 blocks. He was feisty when his shot wasn't there, and it wasn't. 2 of 11 from three-point land. Not good. But I still thought he had a pretty damn good game. So much so, he led the team in plus minus. I know. Plus minus, I have a love-hate relationship with it. But plus 20. Team leading. Contavious Caldwell-Pope, again, his shot wasn't there. But on the defensive end, he was hounded. So this is going to be a very fascinating series. And I feel like after game one, in which the Nuggets controlled that thing from start to finish, it could get away from the Miami Heat. Do I think it's going to be a sweep? Not yet, but it has gentleman's sweep written all over it after game one. I don't know. Instant reaction. Let's see what happens game two. I'm not counting the Heat out because Heat culture has shown me time and time again that, Joe, you're an idiot. You don't know what you're talking about. We're going to win with Jimmy Buckets when our backs are against the wall. So, we'll see. Sunday is game two. What adjustments can you have against this team? I don't think there's that many adjustments. I think it's simple as it's a make or miss league. You got to make your shots. Bill Russell always said it's about buckets. You know what? Jimmy Buckets was not Jimmy Buckets. He was not Himmy Buckets last night. In the Heat, they need him to be that if they want a chance to hoist the NBA Finals trophy. 888-957-9570. Is this series already over after one game? Let me know. 888-957-9570. Continue to take your calls and text regarding Heat Nuggets. We're going to have a replay. Yes, a replay. It was that freaking good of an interview last night. And this guy's not on our station very often. I don't think I've ever heard him on our station. Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer, NFL MVP, two-time, three-time in the Super Bowl, one-time a champion. Greatest show on turf. One of the greatest to ever do it. He joined Willard and Dibbs last night. We're going to hear from him and a lot of interesting thoughts he had regarding Brock Purdy, regarding Trey Lance, regarding Sam Darnold, all that. And no guy is more well-equipped to talk about the quarterback position from every different facet. This guy was an MVP. This guy was out of the league. This guy was bagging groceries. He was playing an arena football. He knows it all. He's played with the best. He's been at the top of the mountain, fallen back down, and risen back up again. He probably has the most fascinating career arc outside of maybe Jim Plunkett that I've ever seen from an NFL quarterback. And he's a Hall of Famer. So we're going to hear from Kurt Warner here in about, a couple minutes. He joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday. Hell of an interview there. Good morning on Twitch, YouTube, Dublin Marge, Nicole, Luis Robertson. Appreciate all y'all chiming in. Comcast Business text line. Appreciate you guys chiming in early. We're early on the text line. Wow. I think someone realized, or is this the same guy that's been texting in for the past hour? My goodness. I just want you guys to know, if you are listening to Fox Sports Radio, they cannot see these texts. This is a local number only, but maybe that's self-explanatory. Maybe it's not. 888-957-9570. 510. Joe, what's fascinating about a sweep? That via the Comcast Business text line. Well, it's fascinating in that I think a lot of people thought and gave a lot of credit and value to Heat culture, so much so that they can't get swept. That's not what Heat culture is all about. If Heat culture is really a top to bottom thing throughout an organization, and it's sustainable, and it's about grit and grind and never getting your team down, I think a lot of people will be like, they can't get swept. If Heat culture is all that great, they can't get swept. Well, maybe Denver's just so much better than everyone else. Maybe that's just what it is. And I think a lot of people thought that. I know Vegas thought that. Denver was a massive favorite heading into this. And they're going to be an even more favorite. What are they right now? Nuggets, Heat, bets right now. So let's go. Action Network. Odds. Right now. 8.5 point dogs right now for Sunday's game 2, the Heat are. And I don't even know what it is to win the series. All markets. To win the series, and then, long story short, Nuggets are big favorites. And I think a lot of people thought, and a lot of people maybe have jaded by what the Heat have done in the Eastern Conference. It's been impressive. But eventually, The conventional wisdom is in the NBA, the cream always rises. Talent above all, which is why when we see teams like the Suns go down in the West, why we see teams like the Warriors or the Lakers. Like I just mentioned teams with Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Stephen Curry. Generally, a team that has one of those guys on it is going to go to the finals because that's just what history has shown us. The Nuggets, they've been good, they've been solid. They've never had a player of that caliber till now, and he has arrived officially. Nikola Jokic has arrived in these playoffs. He's saying F you to all the people that said, I'm a regular season player. Hey, Mark Jackson, you're calling my games. You left me off my MVP ballot. Let me show you. Now, he might not say that, and he's not going to. If you heard any of his pressers, he's a very low-key guy. But he does his talking on the court with his play. He lets that do all the talking. And again, it was just another ho-hum triple-double. And I'm left wondering, after that game in game one, what else the Miami Heat have left to do against this team. I don't know what kind of adjustments they have against Jokic. I thought Adebayo, listen, Jokic is going up against Towns, Ayton, Davis, Adebayo. Pretty damn good players and pretty damn good bigs in this league. And he's just made them all look like kids. Like he is a 7-foot beast on the playgrounds here in the Bay going up against high schoolers. And these guys, some of them are future Hall of Famers. That's just how good of a run he has been on. And it's pretty unbelievable that is going to continue all the way up to maybe an MVP in the finals and another trophy. Shouldn't say another. A first trophy for the city of Denver and the Denver Nuggets. Which would be pretty freaking cool. I know not first for the city and Super Bowls, all that sort of stuff. But for a team that has been knocking on the door and who has never been there to an NBA Finals, it's a pretty freaking awesome debut. 888-957-9570. Again, we'll continue to take your calls and texts as it pertains to the Denver Nuggets, as it pertains to the Miami Heat. Are the Heat done after one game? What do you think? But right now, we're going to shift over to the 49ers. And a lot has been made. Right now, it's OTAs. Brock just started throwing. You got Trey Lance, Sam Darnold taking reps. People are tracking their drops from receivers. They're tracking their completion percentage in OTAs and shorts. I don't think you can take much into that. But here we are. It's just the nature of the business for the San Francisco 49ers starting quarterback position. Ever since Steve Young, Joe Montana had the quarterback controversy, that's been the name of the game surrounding this team. And there's been another one. But this is a three-headed monster. Darnold, Purdy, Lance. Who's it going to be? Well, Kurt Warner, Hall of Famer, joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday, and here were his thoughts regarding that.
What has been your experience over the last week with the 49er quarterback position, their fan base, and the phrase dink and dunk?
I mean, it's simply just as we all know that, people are always trying to pick apart different players. And so obviously that must be some sort of theme that's going on in 49er Nation, that he's a dink and dunk quarterback and that you can't, I guess, win the big game with a dink and dunk quarterback. And so, I don't know, somebody tagged me in something that had that perspective on it. And, so I just went back and picked one of his games. I mean, I watch every throw of every game anyway, so I already have an idea of, of what my thought process is. But, so much to me about dink and dunk is about, you always have to play within the offense. And so there's certain offenses that are more dink and dunk. And it's such a hard thing now because, there's half the teams in the league, half their throws are 5 yards or less from the line of scrimmage anyways. So the nature of offense in the NFL is somewhat dink and dunk. But it's really just, do you play the offense? And, based on the progressions and what defenses are giving you, are you afraid to attack down the field when you have opportunities and you're more likely to just check it down? Or are you a guy that just plays within the offense, even if that means you throw the ball down the field twice a game? That to me doesn't matter. It's the willingness to do it. It's the way that you look and aggressively attack down the field. And so, so I went back and just broke down one of Brock's games, to just kind of get a take on this whole dink and dunk idea. And, is it the offense? Was it, a particular game that somebody saw? Is that the nature of how he plays? And obviously, if you've watched the video, the game I picked was actually the playoff game against Seattle. And more than half of his throws were throws that were down the field, were attacking down the field. And again, you can look at the video and go, well, he didn't make every one of the throws. Well, and that's also the nature of the beast. When you throw the ball down the field, your percentage is always going to be lower, no matter who you are in the league. But to me, it's again about the willingness to attack down the field. As we joked at the beginning, being a gunslinger, that was my mentality. I was trying to throw a touchdown every time I dropped back, and then if I had to, I would settle for the check down. That to me is the nature of how you play a game within the structure of your offense. And I felt like the times that I watched Brock, he was not a guy that was simply looking to check the ball down or to throw and complete the easy throw. He was trying to play the offense and was aggressive when he needed to be aggressive.
And you had the greatest show on turf, and this team is a lot more 21 personnel and sleight of hand and play action. And isn't the league in general a lot more predisposed to that dink and dunk style, and coaches just don't want to put their quarterbacks in a position to make the big mistake?
Well, I think it's as much the rules as anything. Back when we were playing, you could be much more aggressive on the outside, and they didn't call some of the things that they call now, and they weren't as ticky-tacky with contact past 5 yards down the field and all of that stuff. And so, teams were much more aggressive at the line of scrimmage, so it was harder to get off coverage and to throw the slip screens or some of the RPOs that we're throwing in the league now. But because of those rules, offenses take advantage of it. And why wouldn't you? If you can get, half of your throws made within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, you're going to have a better chance to succeed in terms of completing passes. And as you said, less chance of turning the ball over when you're not throwing it 25, 30 yards down the field. So, I think the nature of the rules of the game, lend themselves to what we see now. And that is a lot more dink and dunk type throws. And again, I think a lot of people look at it and go, well, it's not dink and dunk if you're throwing a wide receiver screen, because that's the design of the play, is to throw a wide receiver screen. More of a dink and dunk is, well, if the play is designed with options down the field, are you passing up those options to throw checkdowns or throw short passes? And again, you can't just relatively just say one or the other without looking at the tape and going, okay, what is this play designed to do? Is this play designed to throw a short pass? Is the number one receiver, so to speak, a guy that's 5 yards down the field, which becomes more of a dink and dunk? Or is it, hey, we're trying to get the guy down the field, 25 yards, and then he's not open, we're trying to get the 15-yarder, and then you settle for the 5-yard check down when you have to. So you have to just look at each and every play and be able to decipher it before you can just say, oh, let's look at the air yards on, how far they threw the ball down the field, or how many big plays did they get. That to me never tells the story. It can accentuate what you see on the tape, but it doesn't tell the story just looking at the stats.
Kurt Warner is joining us here on Willard and Dibbs 95.7 The Game. Great to have his perspective. And Kurt, you might be the perfect guy to ask this, and you're probably aware of the dynamic. It's like Brock Purdy is here and played well last year, but he's a 7th-round draft pick. And Trey Lance is over here on the other hand, the 3rd overall pick in the draft, and has never really gotten a chance. And people think, man, that guy's got to have his chance. But from someone who went from grocery store clerk to the Hall of Fame, like, how much of a factor should that be at all, where these guys were drafted?
Well, I think the bottom line is we know it's always a factor, right? It doesn't matter where you sit. If you've paid somebody money, if you've invested draft capital, whatever that is, if you've done that to someone, everybody in the organization wants that player to succeed. They want to give that player every opportunity because it's a reflection of them. Right now, I would look at it and go, well, it's also a reflection of you that you drafted Brock Purdy. I don't care where you drafted him. You chose him in the 7th round, Mr. Irrelevant, but you chose him because you felt like he had a chance. So that's a win for you as well, whether it's Trey Lance or Brock Purdy. But again, at the end of the day, we know that, investment means opportunity in most situations. But I would also say at the end of the day, nobody's going to care where you got your quarterback or when you got your quarterback if you're successful with your quarterback. If you've decided to play a free agent and he's the best player and he gives you a best chance and you win the more games with him, nobody's going to care, right? I mean, look at Tom Brady. He was a 6th-round draft pick. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at this point. Hey, he was the best guy for the job. They played him. They won, and that's how Bill Belichick and the Patriots are linked with Tom Brady. Not, oh, shoot, you guys didn't draft until the 6th round. You guys didn't know what you were doing. No, nobody cares. And so that, to me, is how I look at it. Teams want to win. And you play the player that gives you the best opportunity to win, whether you drafted him, whether you traded for him, whether they fell in your lap. It doesn't matter to me because it's about winning. And at the end of the day, nobody cares where and how you got the person as long as that person is there winning games for you. And so that to me is where, when I look at the 49ers now, and you could even throw Sam Darnold in the mix. They didn't draft him, right? They just pick him up. But so what? If he's the best guy, and this is a perfect system where he can live up to that draft billing that he had, then he should play. And that to me is what this game should always be about. Let them all compete. And whoever separates themselves and shows that they can be the best guy and give you a best chance to win, you play him. And, again, I think Jimmy G was a great example of that. Everybody just wanted to keep replacing him and keep replacing him and keep replacing him. And all he did was go in and win. And it was like, geez, just play the guy because he wins and he plays and he deserves to be in that position. But we're always looking for someone that has more, right? Someone that has one extra step above, maybe the guy that we've got right now. And that's the nature of the league. But the bottom line is there's only a handful of those guys. I look at Jimmy G, and I think he's a quality starter in the National Football League, and you could win a lot of games with a guy like that. Okay, maybe he's not the guy that can separate you and carry you with his right arm week in and week out. Okay, so you've got the second tier of quarterbacks. Well, how many guys in the league are that first tier? What do we got, 5 or 6? Well, you've got maybe one of the top guys in that second tier, and that to me, becomes a part of the whole mix. And you're trying to figure out, what you have in all 3 of these guys. Is there a guy that has a little bit more upside but does all the other things really, really well? Or is one guy just got a bunch of upside but doesn't do the little things as well? Now, who gives you the best chance to win? So I think we're all fascinated by how this is going to play out. I think the bottom line is we saw Brock Purdy, when he played and he won games. Very much like Jimmy G, he made the plays he was supposed to make. He didn't make the big mistakes. And that, to me, is where he gets a leg up. Trey, not as much. There was a lot of inconsistencies there. Even though there were some moments, I didn't see the consistency to say, if I get that Trey Lance moving forward, that we're going to win game after game. He's got to grow. Not that he hasn't up to this point, but he's got to. And you can say the same with Sam Darnold. We've seen some really, really good games from Sam Darnold to say, this guy has the talent to be a starter in this league. But he's lacked consistency. And so with that, that's why he's bounced around everywhere. That's why he's in San Francisco right now. And so I can't sit here and say either one of those other 2 guys gives them a better chance with what I've seen on film and what I've seen on the field than Brock Purdy does, based on what we saw from Brock last year. And that's how I would start this thing. And then I would say, you other 2 guys, prove it to me. Prove it to me that you can be more consistent and you've got something that Brock doesn't have. Otherwise, I would go into this situation and say, Brock's my starter.
That's well put, Kurt. And I think the follow-up question begs is it just the system then that determines ultimately how far this team can go? If you don't have a top-tier quarterback, is it safe to say this team can still win a Super Bowl because the system and the players around the quarterback are good enough to get that done?
Well, I mean, again, the quarterback position drives so much. We know that. I mean, very few times do you see, what we might call average, quarterbacks win Super Bowls. And when they do, it's usually because we have a great defense and we have a great running game, and you can truly be a complementary piece. With the nature of the league, as we were already talking about earlier, it doesn't lend itself to that as much anymore because the quarterback has to do so much. Teams are throwing so much more, so the quarterback has to make those plays. But here's the thing. When I look at quarterbacks, I don't look at it from the standpoint of, he's the second-tier quarterback because he doesn't have the arm strength of, a Josh Allen, or he's a second-tier quarterback because he can't do the crazy things that a Patrick Mahomes can do. I believe you can be a top-tier quarterback by doing what you're supposed to do, making the right decision, making the layup throws. When there's big plays to be made, you can make those big plays. Not going above and beyond, the scope of a play, but simply playing the position better than other guys play the position. I think like a Joe Burrow is a guy that I would throw in that category, is that he doesn't necessarily wow you with anything physically. What he does is he reads coverages, he gets the ball out on time, he makes big-time throws, he's extremely accurate, and that, to me, separates him and makes him a top-tier guy. And so, when we look at these other guys, I don't think we can just look and say, well, he doesn't have the top-end talent, so to speak, that other guys have, so he can't be a Tier 1 quarterback. I want to see Brock, and really all these guys, but I want to see Brock, I wish they could replay that championship game. And I want to see him in that moment against a really good team. Could he have made those key plays that separated them, that got them over the top, where they didn't have to just depend on the run game and the defense? And that will ultimately be what decides what tier, in my opinion, a Brock Purdy falls into.
Kurt, do you think that there's added pressure in this specific market, this specific team, because of the pedigree, the Montana, the young, the way our fan base looks at it? I know you never played here, but certainly been in the division and whatnot. Do you think there's something a little different for this crop that we're talking about to live up to?
I'm sure there's a piece that's always there, is the history of a team and the fact that they win and they've had tremendous quarterback play. I'm sure there's a little bit more pressure there. But I also believe that, those guys, there's been a long time in between when those guys were doing what they were doing and where we're at now. And so I don't think people, and even me covering the game, I don't look at the 49ers and go, oh, you got to be Joe Montana to be their quarterback. Otherwise, you're never going to live up to the billing. I think we're past that, and we're also at the point where we go, hey, Joe and Steve were special. Those guys were unique. You can go down to Miami, and Dan was unique, and they've never really found anybody to replace him. You don't replace the great ones, and I believe in San Francisco they understand that, even though they had a tremendous period where they had great quarterback play, and they're always waiting for the next guy to step in, and be the next great one. I don't think it's really has to be defined that way, and I think most players, understand that and don't feel that same sort of pressure.
Kurt Warner, okay, so real quick, Brock Purdy is not a dink and dunk QB. That's right?
That's right.
Okay.
How I believe, yeah.
All right.
That's Kurt Warner there, who joined Willard and Dibbs yesterday. Great interview there. Again, if you want to find that again, replayed it all, download the Odyssey app, favorite 95.7 The Game. This is the pregame show. I'm your host, Joe Spadoni. We're going to take a quick break. Come on back. Tom Brady to the Raiders? There's no chance, right? On 95.7 The Game.
Hey, Brad. I thought you had a date tonight.
Hey, Mom. She just left. Using my phone for a Wi-Fi hotspot backfired again.
I keep telling you to get Xfinity. What happened?
Well, everything was great until the movie started buffering. Then she started asking questions like, why are you using bed sheets for curtains? Why is this hamster cage so dirty? Where is your hamster?
Oh, honey, it might...
covering ongoing activities and historical presentations. Go to sfhistory.org and discover the San Francisco Historical Society, giving our history a great future. Become a member today.
Now, back to the pregame show on 95.7 The Game.
Welcome back, pregame show. Joe Spadoni. Phil Collins Friday for all those who observed. Talking NBA Finals Game 1. Nuggets beating the Heat 104-93. Jokic, just another triple-double. It's whatever. It's what he does. If he wins this title, and there's still a long way to go. I'm not putting dirt all over the Heat casket just yet. But it wasn't promising. I think the Nuggets, as they do with a lot of teams, present a lot of problems for the Miami Heat. Size, defense, scoring. Man, they're vicious. The Lakers found that out. The T-Wolves found that out. The Suns found that out. Now the Miami Heat, Eric Spoelstra, Jimmy Butler are finding it out. Can Jimmy Buckets have a bounce-back game? He didn't play very well. But man, it is fun. And maybe it's not for a lot of people, but I enjoy watching Jokic play only because it shouldn't be happening. Just you look at the guy, and yes, physically he's really tall. He's not shredded. He doesn't have the guns like a Dwight Howard or even a Shaq when he came on. He doesn't have the super height like a Yao Ming. He's just laboring out there when he runs. It's just like he looks like he's physically taxed constantly. He looks like he's out of breath constantly, and yet triple-double, triple-double, triple-double. He truly is one of the great conundrums to watch physically in the NBA. And I think that's just why people have a hard time wrapping their heads around a guy like that being one of the greatest of all time. And if he wins a title, hell, even if he doesn't, the back-to-back MVPs, what he's done in this playoff run, I tip my hat to the Joker. He's truly having one of the greatest, if not the greatest postseason run in the history of the NBA. I know we've been talking about that with Jimmy Buckets, and deservedly so, because the lack of production around him from the regular season, but now we're seeing guys like Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, all these guys. Duncan Robinson's coming back around. Kyle Lowry off the bench. We're seeing all this production from other guys. But I think Jokic is on a whole nother level. And you saw that last night. And I just tip my cap to the guy because I think he's finally getting the credit he's deserved. And I gave it to him, but I think a large part of this public, of this casual fan, like we were talking about yesterday, is finally seeing him on the grandest stage. And he's putting up a show. And he's putting on a show. And it might not be the sexiest. I get that. It might not be the flair, the alley-oops, all that sort of stuff. Yes, it might be more Tim Duncan-esque. And that's okay. That's all right. As Joe Shasky comes to bring me my coffee, and I desperately need it. Thank you, sir. Much like Indiana Jones. You're now all on a Disney Plus, Joe. Did you know that? Dr. Jones. Dr. Jones. There you go. That guy just won. That actor, by the way, real quick, as Joe's going to join me real quick. I forget his name. I'm pulling a Bonte. I forget your name. But he just won an Academy Award, Dr. Jones. Data.
He did.
Also from the Goonies, yeah.
Yeah, there's a new Indiana Jones coming out. I saw it in the
He's
previews.
80 years old. What are we doing? Like, come on.
Well, there's also a woman, I don't know if it's his daughter, illegitimate, or just someone who's obsessed
Well,
with
Shia LaBeouf was supposed to be his son, apparently, right? Is he coming back?
That guy's psycho.
It's called art.
Oh.
He's eccentric. He's
Diva.
rich. So there you go.
That dude gets slapped up real quick.
Oh, well,
and I'm not for advocating violence.
No.
But that guy's the way that guy talks to people, you wouldn't do that on a job site.
You brought that up. He's been reported verbally, emotionally abusive. So yes, we don't even need to get into that.
Yeah.
I enjoyed him on Even Stevens on the Disney Channel about 20 years ago.
I don't advocate violence.
No.
But it's so obvious who's never gotten punched in the face.
Oh, yeah.
By how they treat others.
Oh, yeah. Well, that goes without saying.
Right?
Certain people in your life where you just need
He's one of them.
Certain people just need to get checked, and they haven't been in their whole life.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying, when you get punched in the face at a teenager age, you understand there are people out there that will set me correct when I step out of line.
Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face. There you go. Joe Shasky, he's going to join me next segment. I can't wait for his breakdown on Game 1. Nuggets again, taking out the Miami Heat. But I teased this last segment at 888-957-9570 and on the YouTube and Twitch streams. Tom Brady. Much has been made about in the last week or so. Oh, Tom Brady, he just bought a minority stake in the Raiders, still pending league approval. Expected to happen, but a minority owner with the Raiders. Oh, Jimmy Garoppolo, he signed a big extension. Oh, foot surgery. He could be out. Tom? Raiders? Huh? That could happen, right? Oh, just league approval. You could have him start for the Raiders next year. Tom, come on. Come on, Tommy. Josh McDaniels, Dave Ziegler, Devontae, Josh Jacobs, Hunter Renfrow. Who wouldn't want that? Well, Tom's putting a poo-poo on it.
What is your message to those fans, the media, whoever it is that's constantly concocting a way for you to come back?
I'm certain I'm not playing again, so I've tried to make that clear. At times, but I'm looking forward to my broadcasting job at Fox next year. I'm looking forward to the opportunity ahead with the Raiders, and we're in the process of that, along with the other different things that I'm a part of professionally and in my personal life, just spending as much time with my kids as I can and seeing them grow up and support the different things that they have going on. And that's a very important job. And I take them all pretty seriously.
He takes them all pretty seriously. Tom Brady poo-pooing the idea of him being the Raiders quarterback next year. And to be honest, as I'm wearing a Raider polo here on Twitch and YouTube, you guys can see me if you're up and streaming that. Why would he want to play on this team? Like, what? Really? Are the Raiders winning a Super Bowl next year? Yes or no? Well, if they have Tom Brady, no. Not with that defense. Tom has had a defense in every one of his stops. It's not happening. And I would rather tank for Caleb Williams, the future of the team, than play with the 45-year-old Tom Brady for one season and see what happens next. That's just a Band-Aid that doesn't make sense, first of all. And why would Tom want to do that? He just got out of it. You heard him there. Family, endeavors, wants to be a minority owner with the Raiders. He's already a minority owner with the Las Vegas Aces. Apparently him and Mark Davis are now best friends because he's just part owner with all these teams in Vegas. Like, why would he want to do that? That just seems unnecessary stress. I'm a Raiders fan, and it's already unnecessary stressful watching this team. I couldn't imagine quarterbacking it with the dumpster fire of that division. I mean, are you kidding me? Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Sean Payton now connected with Russell Wilson. I think they'll have a bounce back season. Why would he want to do that? It's dumb. Sports talk fodder. I get it. But thank you, Tom, for putting a water over the fire, if you will, over that nonsense. Please miss me with that. And I wanted Tom at the start of the season. I think it made sense for the Raiders to go after him. I thought if they drafted a guy in the top 5, a Richardson, a Stroud, a Young, whoever was dropping, a Levis, if that happened, I think it would make sense for Tom to play a year or maybe even 2 and groom this next quarterback. Didn't happen. He hung it up. Let's move on. And I don't know what the Raiders' plan is going forward. I really don't. I thought signing Jimmy Garoppolo in the first place without a backup plan, and I know they drafted Aiden O'Connell out of Purdue. He's not the future. Maybe a future backup in the league, and that's fine, but he doesn't have a future. Stop. If you really wanted to sell me on the future, if you were Dave Ziegler and Josh McDaniels, you would have drafted or traded up for an Anthony Richardson, for a Bryce Young, for a CJ Stroud. Hell, drafting Will Levis in the top of the second round, I could have gotten on board with that. But just Jimmy Garoppolo, an injury-prone quarterback of the future, Aiden O'Connell and Brian Hoyer, yeah, I don't have much faith in this team moving forward. Now, they may luck into Caleb Williams. Jimmy may be hurt the whole season. He may be out. He has a clause in his contract. If he's not ready to play in training camp, they can waive the whole thing, owe him $0. But if I had to put money on it, I would bet Jimmy Garoppolo is playing week 1. I just think we're blowing this whole thing way out of proportion. Reading between the lines of McDaniels, of Ziegler's quotes, they're pretty confident he's going to play week 1. So Tom Brady, Raiders quarterback? No. Raiders minority owner? Probably yes. 888-957-9570. We're going to take one more break. Come on back. Your thoughts, your phone calls, still taking them. 888-957-9570. The crossover is next, where Joe Shasky of the Morning Roast joins me, get his thoughts on game one. Again, the Denver Nuggets taking a 1-0 series lead over the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals. 104-93 there. Nikola Jokic, another triple-double, so we'll talk about that coming up. Also, the question, bearing the lead. It's a Friday. It's a Phil Collins Friday. What are you doing this weekend? Let me know, 888-957-9570. Come on back. It's the pregame show with Joe Spadoni, 95.7 The Game.
Ever since we got Xfinity Mobile, the whole family now has the fastest mobile service. My little brother has no idea how lucky he is. Back in my day, we didn't have it nearly as good.
Oh yeah? Back in my day, you couldn't even stream outside the house. I don't like to think about it.
Please, back in my day,
Game.
Oh, yeah. Is that all? Phil Collins. Phil Collins Friday.
It's always the same. It's just a shame. That's all.
It's just a shame, that's all. Is it all for the Miami Heat? Joe Shasky, who's joining me now for the crossover on the pregame show. Is it? Like, seriously, after that one game?
I don't think it's already
over. Do you think it's... What's more likely?
But I do think they're going to win. There's like two different questions.
Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, it's fine.
What's more likely here?
I don't know.
A Denver Nuggets sweep of the Heat or the Heat winning the series?
Probably Denver sweeping. But I don't think it's an indictment on yesterday's game. More so the overall body of work of what you're seeing from Denver. God, they look so connected. And
they're a team.
Absolutely.
Right? Well, I mean, both of these ones are, obviously.
No doubt. But like, clearly Miami's coming on a long flight.
Altitude.
Oh, if I hear altitude.
But did you hear Spoelstra's like, we'll play him on Everest? I was like, relax.
It's Spoelstra. I'm caping up for my Filipino brother, though. Come on.
Hell
man.
yeah. My son, daughter, Filipino.
There you go. See, you know
well,
all about
the month passed. I don't even know what's June now. I don't know. I know last month, May, was Asian American Pacific Islander month. There's so many.
Every
months.
day is in our household.
There you go.
Yeah. No, but like, I mean, they've got so much length. Like, the one thing I think I really underestimated was defensively. Defensively, they got so much length. Not that they're great, like in terms of an all-time like elite defensive, team, but when you got Michael Porter Jr. getting a dozen rebounds,
that was huge, and he didn't shoot. He shot awful, but you know what? He's hitting the glass.
I thought he was missing open shots, and the two-man game between Jamal Murray, Jokic, and then Jokic's ability to pass over the top of Bam Adebayo at the top of the key. I mean, how many guys have that in the bag,
dude? Jokic, Murray joined Worthy, Magic, Jordan, Pippen as the third duo ever to both have 10 assists in a game.
Wow.
Yeah. How crazy is that? Crazy,
I didn't even know
weird
that.
Stat, but like that just shows you how connected this team. Like, those are two of the greatest dynasties of all time. You think of Magic, Worthy, you think of Scottie, Jordan, like just tandems. Like, maybe we're talking about Jokic and Murray for the next 5 years or whatever.
Don't they have a feel of like feels sustainable?
Yes. It absolutely feels sustainable. Like, they're young, they have the crowd, they have the altitude. Like, I know I'm going back to altitude, but this is somewhat. I think it is. No, but I do think it's like kind of an advantage, right? Like, it has to be. Like,
absolutely.
Like, who else plays in altitude?
Just like playing at AT&T Park on a Tuesday night when it's frigid. Yeah, that's an advantage as well.
Yes, absolutely. And they have the youth, they have the depth. Like, they have these guys locked up for the future. And you know what? They have guys buying into their roles. I saw Bonte text it into the chat this morning. Like, you know what? The best thing, and this is Jokic talking after the game, the best thing for Aaron Gordon was him accepting his role. And that's hard for a lot of guys. And listen, you saw that for a lot of teams struggling this year in the playoffs. Lakers, Warriors, Suns, people accepting certain roles. And maybe that is you're already starting, but you're not hitting the defensive end, or you're not hitting the offensive glass, or you're lazy. Like, that seems like such a simple quote, but there is layers to it, Joe.
Joey, when I got into radio, I didn't know what I wanted, how I wanted to be portrayed or anything. I didn't even think about it. It's just like, we were just talking sports, right? And then I realized, like, the guy who's the quote-unquote A-chair, like, it's just different. The tone is different. How you present things are different. And it took away from who I really am and what I'm best as, right? And so I realized, like, I'll never be Colin Cowherd. I just need to be Joe Shasky. And in this particular role,
where Joe was wrong,
thank God I've got Bonte to be the professional. You know what I mean? Like, straight up. And I mean that sincerely.
No, seriously.
Like, and I accepted that role. Not that it's lesser than, it's just maximizing me.
Yes.
And then it maximizes the team.
Well, that's all about accepting roles here in the business too. Like, listen, like I hope to have one day my own show that's longer than an hour, but right now I'm accepting my role and I'm trying to do it the best of my capabilities, because that's what these guys do. These guys are all used to being the best at their professions, right? Their whole lives, they were the best at whatever it was. Aaron Gordon, he was the best. He was a top 10, but whatever. And it's very humbling for some of these guys to realize, listen, man, you may have all the physical tools and physical gifts, but there's layers to it mentally and physically, and adjusting to that. It's very, very difficult. And I tip my hat to guys like Aaron Gordon, guys like KCP, guys like you're seeing, like the Max Truces, who had a bad game, but like Gabe Vincent's killer. Like all these guys we're seeing. Yes, the Andre Iguodala's.
Robert Ory.
Robert Ory, the role players. Like these guys paved the way moving forward. Rick Fox. Like,
like Tayshaun Prince. Like you can go right down to like, find me a champion and I'll find you 2 or 3 guys at minimum on that team who aren't necessarily like elite, but like you're not winning without those
we'll
dudes.
see with the Heat. Tyler Hero's expected for game 3. We'll see. Like that's another guy who was big in the bubble run.
Very interested to see where he slots in because a lot has been made like, oh, they're better without him.
You saw last night they could have used his scoring.
Some pop.
Like, yes. Like that's absolutely
but you know what
right.
last night was? Like, and I try to explain this because not that I'm like more tapped in on Miami, but I listen to the Le Batard show, and so you get a lot of Miami Heat stuff.
Love Le Batard show.
I do too. And it'd be like if you listen to us every day, you're gonna learn some stuff about the Warriors, Giants, and Niners.
Yes.
Same thing. I listen to them every day. And I'm like, they were the worst shooting, like depending on whether it was from the field or 3-point land, bottom 4 in almost every shooting category all year until the playoffs.
Did you see what they did from the free throw line yesterday? 2 attempts. That's an NBA Finals low
on a Jimmy Butler team.
2.
I know
that can't happen.
If you're Mike Malone, and Draymond kind of alluded to this in his podcast, if you're Mike Malone, you got to feel pretty happy because you had a pretty commanding lead in that game. And if you get blown out in game 1, it feels like, travel, like you mail it in, the Heat come back, and it's a way tighter game in game 2. Because it was like kind of close enough, I feel like you can make the argument, all right, guys, we got to really lock in for game 2. And the other team, I don't know, like they didn't get a chance to rest a little at the end of there.
Well, it almost gave
after a grueling 7.
It almost gave me like vibes of game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. The Lakers who were down by like 20 at one point or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the second half, they really brought it together and they almost stole that game. But to your point, if you're the Miami Heat and you're coming out of this game, you're like, listen, we just hit some 3-point shots. We were 13 of 39. We didn't do that. I'm not expecting Max Strus to go 0 of 10 again. No. So you can hit some of those shots and get back in it. It's Jimmy Butler, ultimately, for me, has to be that dude every single night if the Heat are going to win. He can't be making 13 points, 6 of 14. That just can't be his game. I know the assist numbers were there. That was great. But he has to be that guy for this team to win. Whereas the Nuggets, you saw that in the first quarter, Jokic didn't do anything scoring-wise, but his imprints were all over the game in other ways.
Yeah, Jason Kidd is one of my favorite players of all time, and he would control the pace of a game and dictate the flow and who's getting the ball and where they're getting it, and then defensively make plays without shooting. Now, could he? Yeah, he could score if he needed to and go into the lane and do. Shooting wasn't necessarily a strength of his until later on in his career. He became a decent 3-point shooter. Not great, but decent in terms of you had to honor him. But like in the reverse way, that's what I saw from Jokic. A guy completely controlling the game without shooting.
Speaking of Jason Kidd, I think Jokic was the first guy since Kidd to have a triple-double in his finals debut. Like, that's crazy. Going back to 2002, 20-plus years since that happened. Jason Kidd, one of the all-time greats, as you just mentioned.
I have a question to ask you before we get on out of here.
Sure.
Why are shirt sizes and clothes sizes so different brand to brand? Like, Joe, look me in the eye. I know this is good. Look, depending on how fat I am on any given day, I run from a medium through an XL.
Yeah.
On shirts, outerwear, sweatshirts, like whatever it is. Right now I'm wearing a medium t-shirt with a large pullover, and I didn't fit into a large t-shirt that I just bought yesterday. I washed it one time, and now I need to go get an XL.
It's fun. Why? It's funny. Certain brands.
How weird is that?
And I can think of certain brands like Vans. When I go to a Vans store, their shirts are freaking massive. Like,
really?
I was like, why do I feel so small? Then I go to a Nike store and like an XL is like the same as like their medium or something. I was like, what is happening here?
Okay, so I'm not the only one.
There's material involved, like cotton, polyester. I get all that.
Get that.
But you're right. There's certain cuts that I prefer over others, and it's very difficult to just go. That's why I find certain I'm wearing ASOS jeans right now, and I really I love them because they get my certain skinny feel to it. I like a little skinny, like a little tight, like slim boot at the end. That's what I like.
I like the taper
but
look
I don't like it like baggy or anything like that. And I know what I'm getting from Vans or Nike or Adidas and stuff like that. So when I find a specific brand of clothing, I am very, very loyal to.
I'm with
That's
you.
why I hate when Jay's like, "Oh, let me can I buy this stuff for you?" I was like, "No.
Don't go outside the box.
Don't go outside the box.
Yeah.
I will buy my own clothes for myself."
And I know why, like,
Give
online.
me a gift card.
No, and I know why online shopping is huge, but like to me, nothing's worse than you wait for something shows up, you try it on, and immediately you're just like, oh my God, it doesn't fit. Either way too big or way too small. And I get it. I'm here to like cut, and some are slim, some are loose. Like I get all that. But can we at least be in the ballpark? Like I used to oscillate between medium and large. Now it's literally medium to XL. What the hell?
Mark Failer is with you on the YouTube chat. What's up, Marky Mark? Shout out
Mark.
Salinas, California. Shout out Palma High School. He said-
Shout out San Jose.
Shout out San
Gordon.
Jose, Aaron Gordon. And Mark says, I blame the guys wearing the booty shorts these days. So we'll just leave it at that. That's Joe Shasky. He's joining Bonta Hill next. Morning Roast, 50 Cent Friday, right here on 95.7 The Game.
You're listening to 95.7 The Game.